Welcome into Willow's Soulfire. Today, I want to talk about maintaining your wild. What wild did you leave behind? Adhering to rules and laws and expectations that aren't applicable. I don't mean don't be a murderer, but there are times where you could probably get away with speeding for reasons other than being caught by the police. That speeding when all other conditions are appropriate, that the original speed limits came about on the interstates to conserve fuel, and that the old can't drive 55 some places turned into 60 and others 65 and others 75, and I think there's still parts of Montana without speed limits, and leaves it up to you to decide if the conditions are appropriate for the speed that you're going. The laws and the rules that were enacted to control people, a lot of times women, minorities, limit access, freedom. The Constitution, written 250 years ago, almost, that when it was written, times were completely different, and we needed different rules, and we needed more governance, and that felt like freedom compared to what a lot of people came from in comparison. The freedom of religion that for thousands of years created conflict after conflict, and it still does. Not just everywhere in the world, but in the United States, it still creates conflict. freedom from religion, and the laws on counties and states and that haven't been touched for centuries because they seem so silly now, but at the time someone felt they had to be enacted to keep people under control. And not necessary now, and probably not worth the effort to actually overturn them. And yet parts of the Constitution are being changed all the time to restrict freedoms and control freedoms, and depending on what side of the aisle you're on or your neighbor's on, that feel like dividing points. What feels wild to you and why? Who told you you couldn't do it and why? You cut your hair a certain way, or not have tattoos, or wear button-down white shirts to work, drive a certain car manufactured in a certain country, color your hair natural colors, don't show too much skin, show more skin, weigh a certain weight. Be quiet, be loud, cover yourself up, don't cover yourself up. Respect your neighbor, don't covet your neighbor's wife. What do you want to make you wild? What wildness are you denying? And whose cage is it that you're being kept in? We still need to manage our wild for our own safety sometimes, and not because we chose that to be the wild part of us, but because it's wild only because it's against someone else's rules that you don't adhere to. How important is that rule, or who it came from, that cages your truest nature? If nobody was watching and no one was judging, and you didn't care what other people thought, what would you be doing? Are you working towards untaming, rewilding? Are you finding places that you have to maintain your wild more? Are you finding places that you get to let your wild out more? I think those, for me right now, are really good questions, and where I've let myself be wild on the outside that I didn't let myself be, and parts that I didn't know that I wanted to be. The people that I get to be wild with, not for me, not dangerous, risky, not daredevil, risky, emotionally exposed, exposing myself to judgment, maybe. But what rules are those judgments formed from, and why? And what's the intention of the judgment? The more I feel free and can let my wild out, the more places I can let my wild out, the less I get concerned about what other people's thoughts about it are. Because judgment will always be there. Laws, accusations, what people think they know or saw or heard. If you are being authentic, and if you're being honest with yourself, what are you willing to expose and to who? Maintain your wild. Maintaining also is keeping up with, keeping steady, making sure your wild has places to be and be seen and not judged for anything other than its authenticity and its honesty and its vulnerability. Freedom in wildness. I think that's why I love having wild animals on my property on a regular basis, that it reminds me that I'm still surrounded by wilderness, and being in the wilderness, living in the wilderness every day gives me more appreciation for the wild, not less. I'm still excited to see the deer on my lawn and the bunnies and the wild turkeys and eagles. It hasn't faded, it's gotten stronger. My domestication amidst wilderness. And fences are, in some cases, more necessary, and some aren't necessary at all. I'm choosing wild. I'm choosing the freedom of being who I was intended to be, not what I was formed into with years and years of conditioning from family and friends and boyfriends and girlfriends and employers and bosses and what you expected of me, and I just probably did my lipstick all over the place, and what I was capable of, but what you also saw in me and set free in me. Teachers. Giving us the tools to find our own way, and school teachers that basically, I should say generically, public school teachers that have to teach within certain guidelines and rules, and that deliver the contents in ways that they know how to reach the greatest number of students bigger classrooms and less resources. All the rules that have changed in the however many years it's been since I was in public school. Private schools that are only for families that can afford it. So, a privileged few where the education for the most part is probably more quality because it doesn't have to fit a wider range of one size fits all. That's not diverse. I don't know statistics, but most of the private schools that I know are religion-based, and therefore religion is taught as believed in their books. The charter schools or the special education, the talented and gifted, these spaces that were created for the outliers in parts of general school life. We'll take a segment of you all and do the best that we can with what we understand. More likely to reach you with those resources. Life skills to prepare you to go to college or get a job, go to college and then get a job, go to college then go to med school or law school. To get a job. Less on relations and authenticity and transparency and being good to yourself and kind to yourself and respectful of yourself. how to do your taxes. How much in school that I learned that isn't even applicable now. Shorthand? Anyone? Is anybody writing shorthand still? Cursive has gone away. We didn't even see that one coming. How history's changed. It didn't really change. The perspective from where it was told has changed. Borders of countries have changed. Dinosaurs have changed. How much we've learned about dinosaurs since I was a kid? Are you kidding me? It's not that long. What's out there to learn still? What are you learning from your wildness? What are you releasing with your wildness and giving up on through your wildness because it didn't belong there? I hope that you find yourself in the wild more often, whatever that wild is to you, where that value is, and that it gets easier and easier, and you don't have to hide behind tameness, behind rules or laws that no longer make sense to you, not because they were written so long ago that we can't possibly really know the intent. That times now are so different that even the original intent doesn't translate well. We didn't know we would have cell phones and Wi-Fi and the internet and LED light bulbs. Maintain your wild. Where is it allowed? Where does it belong? How much of it is right for you? My wild is different than your wild. Have to go further for your wild than I did for some of mine. The thing is, it doesn't matter what your wild is in comparison to mine or anyone else's. Accept that it's authentic, that it's honest, that it's real, and that it's what you want to be more of for the right reasons. More freedom for all, I'm excited. The more I hear of the untaming and rewilding for all the potential that it unlocks and the next thing into the next thing, I wish that excitement for you and that freedom for you. And let's talk about the differences in our wild. What was wild for you before that's no longer wild now? I think it's a really cool, empowering conversation. So let's do it. I have created a Facebook community page, a private one. So if you want to head over there and find some more community over there, more support and more good stuff in your feed every day and encouragement. I have so much that I want to do with and for you and in service of you and empowering me and making my dreams come true, and I don't know how they fit together yet, but I'm going to keep doing them and I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. I'll help you figure your stuff out. So here we are, another video out there. Thank you for being here, for finding me, for sharing me with the people that you think need it too, and for being open and seeking, learning, considering. I appreciate it, and I'm grateful. Thank you. Thank you.